Good morning, Seth Resnick here, and today we're going to take a look at processing, but we're going to process using virtual copies. The idea of that being that rather than processing the whole image in one shot, if you make progressions using virtual copies, you actually get to see each step of what you've done. You can lay it out on the screen, and it helps you decide if you've gone too far. Here I have an image from Antarctica, and I'm going to make a virtual copy. I'm going to press Command apostrophe, or from the drop-down menu under the photo menu, create virtual copy. Personally, I like Command apostrophe, but for showing this in a video, easier to do it this way. So now I have two on my screen, if you will, and I'm going to do the basic processing, apply my lens corrections. And I showed you in a previous video how to get lens corrections up here at the top. Then I'm going to go in and adjust my white point and my black point. In order to do my black point, I'm going to hold down the Option key, and I'm going to slide the slider until I begin to see some detail. And I'm going to do the same thing with my white point. And until I begin to see some detail, that's about right. Now I'm going to bring my exposure down to balance that out. Bring my highlights down, open up my shadows. And that's a very good starting point. So now I'm going to make another virtual copy. The other reason for doing this is that if I use the backslash key, which is before and after, if I process it all in one step, then before is all the way back to the beginning. If I process it in steps using virtual copies, the back and forth is basically just back to the beginning of that virtual copy. So now I'm going to add, I want to definitely add some dehaze to make the underwater ice pop out a little more. I'm going to add some clarity. I'm going to open up exposure a little bit. I'm going to add a little bit of texture. That's good. Make another virtual copy. Select a new mask. I'm going to choose Objects. And I'm going to select the underwater component of this iceberg. And it did a pretty good job. Great. So I'm going to open up the exposure. I'm going to change the color temperature a little bit. I want it to be a little bluer. I'm going to increase the saturation a little bit. I'm going to bring my highlights down. Open up my shadows. We're starting to get somewhere. I need to add some clarity and a little dehaze to make it pop out. It's a little too blue for me. So I'm going to add just a little bit of green. That's a little better. Great. I'm going to make a new virtual copy. Make a new virtual copy. Sky. So make a new mask. Create new mask. Actually, let's name this mask first so we know what it is. We're going to call that mask Underwater. Underwater ice. And we're going to add a new mask. We're going to select the sky. I'm going to darken that sky a bit. I'm going to add a little bit of dehaze to that sky. I'm being driven nuts by those water spots, so we might as well go ahead and get rid of those water spots up there. We'll use the new AI. Ones up here. We'll just get those. And again, the idea of this processing for me, which I would typically do in the field, is a rough process so I can really get to see what the image is going to look like. Then when I get home, I actually start from scratch and reprocess. But actually, it looks like part of the boat down here. So while I have this open, I am going to select that. There we go. That should do it. Almost. Okay. I'm going to make a new virtual copy. And I want to work on the water inside the iceberg this time. So again, I'm going to go to my masks. I'm going to actually, again, rename this one so I know what it was. I'm going to call that sky. And we're going to make a new mask, object. And I'm going to select just that water that's in the inside. It does a pretty good job, a little bit hanging over here, but we can fix that. We will just subtract with a brush. Make that brush a little bigger. Just subtract that area of snow. And I'm going to cool that. Darken it a little bit. Great. Two more things. I'm going to, might as well name that mask interior water. Water. I'm going to make a new mask, make a new virtual copy actually. Make a new mask. And for the new mask, I'm going to do a linear gradient. And just darken that a little bit. And I'm going to do a gradient coming up from each side. We'll darken that a little bit. And we'll make a new gradient over on this side. Just to darken some of that a little bit. Good, I'm going to go in and name these. All these are gradients. We pick this one. We'll use the backslash key. You see the back is just from the point of adjusting that sky instead of going all the way back to the beginning. So that's the really useful part, is that I can see all the steps that I have and lay them, put them all up on the screen. Use the N key, and I can see each of the steps. And that pretty much is it. And in the field, that's exactly what I do. I do what I would call this rough processing. I take this home, and then when I get home, I really go back through each one very carefully and reprocess it. But I use this as a reference for going forward. And hope you enjoyed today's video. Subscribe. We're going to keep doing lots more of these, and see you again soon. Bye now.